Well, here we are, 2022, a new year of opportunities for things to suck even harder. Whoa! 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 What was that? Whoa. Who are you?
I'm you, from another universe.
You're me? What?
Yeah, look below.
Oh, well, I guess you are me. And you're from another universe?
Yeah, a universe where we're all super short and our heads bobble uncontrollably.
You also have a rather loud and obnoxious southern accent that's so loud it tends to distort the microphone you're speaking into.
Yeah, well, that's mostly due to lack of creativity.
Uh-huh, so what can I do for you?
Well, my universe is under attack from a giant robot, and we need your help.
Let's do it.
Look, there he is! Oh my God! It's worse than I thought! It's a massacre! We have to stop him! You saved us! You're a hero!
Don't mention it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a movie to review. I'm off! Whew! Good to be back. That was fun. I sure hope I don't get some sort of multiverse version of COVID now.
What have you been up to?
Oh, you know, nothing much.
What?
I think I need to get a real job.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the first 2022 episode of You Started
Get
Real. And on
2022.
Oh, you interrupted me.
Sorry.
Get the fuck out.
Nope, that hasn't changed.
And on this inaugural 2022 episode of Get Real, we're going to talk about maybe what could have been the best movie of 2021. Would you agree with this?
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
I think it's without a doubt, if not the best movie of the year, definitely top three.
Yeah.
At the very least. I mean, if you haven't gotten it by my shirt already, I'm talking, of course, about Spider-Man No Way Home. This movie was incredible. Where do we even start? Well, first of all, spoilers ahead.
I don't want to spoil too much.
You don't want to give away the big plot twist?
No.
You don't want to give that away?
No.
Okay, so we won't spoil that. So no spoilers. I just did spoilers. Now no spoilers. But it's all fine. Hey, by the way, we might look a little clearer than usual. We got a new
phone.
I have a new
Who dis?
phone. Who dis? And that means new
Yay.
camera. So maybe everything looks better. I don't know. In fact, I think we can even bring this down a little bit more.
Hey.
Look at that. So, Miss Pengrino, what did you think of Spider-Man No Way Home?
I loved it.
Best movie ever, right?
I loved it. Well, I wouldn't say it's best movie ever. Just for
Oh.
me, that's Clue, and you know that.
Wait, hell, it's Star Wars for me. But yeah.
But it was so good.
What's interesting about it is, you know, it's a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? This version of Spider-Man, and you know,
AKA Tom Holland version.
well, they've done four. This is the fourth hero out of that group that they've done a full trilogy for.
Yeah.
And this is the only one out of those four that had consistently good movies within it.
They were all good.
If you talk about like Iron Man, the first Iron Man was really good. It was like a good big box office movie in 2008. A lot of people enjoyed it, but a lot of people didn't even realize, me included in this, is that was the beginning of a multi-movie universe. Like, I didn't know. I just thought that they were just doing an Iron Man movie, because this was still very early in the social media days, so like I wasn't even paying that much attention to it. And then they did they also did the Incredible Hulk that year, but then they did Iron Man 2.
Nobody paid attention to that.
Unfortunately. But anyway, they did that just to say, hey, Bruce Banner's here too.
Yeah.
But then they did the Iron Man 2 in 2010, which was, it was pretty good.
All right.
And then Iron Man 3, which has two camps. You either love it or you hate it.
I don't even know if I've seen the third one.
I enjoy it. So I guess it puts me in the love camp. I don't love the movie.
I'm probably going to put myself in the hate camp. Because
I don't hate it.
If I did see it and I can't even remember it, that's not a good sign.
It's a weird oddball movie in the franchise, because that's pretty much it. You either love it or hate it, but I don't hate it, but I don't love it.
Aren't thirds kind of always like that? Seconds and thirds are.
Well, I mean usually
Home
like
Alone.
and
Love
just
it or hate it.
and just regular movies though. This is a cinematic universe. That's not always the same rule. And then you think about Captain America, which is the first movie of his. It was the typical Captain America origin story, where he came from. It was a good movie. And then Captain America Winter Soldier, and that movie was amazing. Everybody loved Winter Soldier. Yeah. And then tepid feelings towards Captain America Civil War. It was meh.
Again.
Okay.
Pretty sure I watched that. Didn't really remember it, so not a good time.
But it was a game changer with Thor, because Thor was the third franchise to get a trilogy. The first one was okay. It was his origin story.
Yeah.
A lot of people even forget that there was a second Thor film, because it just kind of went. It was there and then gone. It was called Thor: The Dark World. I don't even remember what happened in it. But then the third.
Isn't that when they found out when Loki was the ice dude? Where Loki originally came from? Didn't that happen in the second one? Or was that the first one?
Please leave this episode.
It reminds me when Betty and I first fell in love. I had just finished my film Cobbler.
And then there was the third Thor movie,
Ragnarok,
which broke the mold in terms of the third movie being the best.
I love that one.
Ragnarok was an amazing
Ragnarok
film.
Was so good.
Was the best Thor film, and I consider it one of the best in the cinematic universe. So, but they all have their ups and downs. Spider-Man, from Homecoming to Far From Home to No Way Home, consistently good movies. It was a fantastic trilogy, and I'm very proud of that Spider-Man. But they
also picked good characters for it.
They also picked good characters for it. They picked good actors for it. Yeah. That's what they did. Not knocking Tobey.
That's what I meant by
not knocking. Oh, I thought you meant like little character. You mean actors?
No, actors, because the characters have been from the comic books. Like, they don't change.
Seriously, why are you still in my episode?
It reminds me when Betty and I first fell in love. I had just finished my film Cobbler.
Anyway, but so consistently good. Not knocking Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man movies, but I mean, like, even those were just not up to exactly where we wanted them, because again, Tom Holland
cut some slack to Tobey, because that was way early.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, well, let's just get it. Again, Tom Holland's films all consistently good. The first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, really good. Solid film. Spider-Man 2, everybody loves Spider-Man 2. That was a great film. It was really well done, and everybody loves it. Spider-Man 3 sucked. Absolutely sucked.
There was a third one with Tobey?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's where the Sandman comes in. Remember the Sandman?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
Okay, see, a lot of people don't. But then you get to Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man films. The first one was okay, and then the second one was garbage. And then they just stopped making those films because they just
I don't remember a third of that either, but...
And then as soon as that franchise failed, they were like, we're going to reboot him again!
Again!
And this time he's going to be in the cinematic universe. And then they did it right, finally.
Well, at least they did a good job this time.
It took three tries, third time's the charm, but
2.5.
1.5.
1.5.
Listen, I love Andrew Garfield, but I don't think he was a great Spider-Man. After Tom Holland came out in the Spider-Man in the cinematic universe, everybody started comparing his performance with past performances. Everybody says that Tobey Maguire was a great Spider-Man, but a bad Peter Parker. Andrew Garfield was a great Peter Parker, but a bad Spider-Man. But Tom Holland is the first one to consistently get the whole thing down.
How are you a bad Peter Parker?
Well, because...
That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, because Peter Parker is a geek.
Yeah.
He is a nerd, but
Yeah.
he's sort of still like a cool everyman. Tobey Maguire wasn't really that. Andrew Garfield
he
was.
wasn't cool. No.
Andrew Garfield was witty and cool, and Tom Holland is witty and cool. Even though they're supposed to be nerdy too, they're witty and cool. Tobey Maguire wasn't very witty. He was very kind of mopey and just sad all the time, and then became Spider-Man, and then just dominated anybody that approached him.
Again, Toby was in a different time frame
But
than the other two. But
I don't know.
I get what you mean.
I don't know if what you mean by that, but okay. But the point is that this is the franchise that got it right, and this movie blew all of them out of the water. This was the greatest Spider-Man movie ever made. Where do you even begin? I mean, we're 9 minutes into this almost, and we haven't even actually talked about the film because there's so much to unpack here.
Well, so let's unpack the premise. Let's start with the premise.
Okay, so Spider-Man, Peter Parker. Peter Parker has been found out. Mysterio revealed to the world before he died in the last film that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. There is now this huge divide between Spider-Man supporters and Mysterio supporters. People who are Mysterio supporters think that Spider-Man murdered Mysterio and that he was the hero and Spider-Man is the criminal. But if you saw Far From Home, you know that's bull.
The truth.
But J. Jonah Jameson, who's like Alex Jones in this movie, which makes me laugh, goes on to television and the internet and tells the world that Spider-Man is the evil one and he's trying to corrupt us and he's bad and all of this. And so the world hates Peter Parker and Spider-Man. He goes to Doctor Strange and is like, hey, can we do some sort of spell that makes people forget who I am? And he's like, sure. But then he's like, oh, wait, when the spell's going, he's like, wait, I want some people to remember that I'm Spider-Man, Peter Parker / don't take away everything. And it screws up the whole spell, and by doing so, it opens up the multiverse and all the bad guys, all the criminals from the Spider-Man movies past. That's not a part of the cinematic universe. The ones from Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, they come into the cinematic universe and wreak havoc. Yeah. And that's the plot of Spider-Man No Way Home. And I loved it.
I did too.
And this is not lip service to Marvel or to Spider-Man. I'm sure there's a lot of detractors out there. I was like, boy, they're just like, they're playing on member berries and they're playing on nostalgia. And I get that, but it's like, there's a correct way to do it, and they did it right with this film.
Well, so like, and you even think too, like, oh, well, we haven't seen a good movie in 2 years.
Well, we saw a lot of good movies this year.
I mean, like,
we did
relatively good movie.
We did 8 or 9 Get Reels in 2021. Granted, some of them were negative Get Reels, but we saw some movies in 2021.
We saw some movies, and yet it blew my expectations out of the water.
But getting back to the nostalgia thing, it's like you think about Star Wars and Ghostbusters Afterlife, which we also saw, and we might talk about that.
That was good.
Mind if you talk about that in a future episode? But the point I'm trying to make is that movies like that play on nostalgia. They play on, hey, do you remember this? In No Way Home, they basically do that. They're like, hey, do you remember them? But instead of just saying, let's reboot that and let's make references to it, they just flat out bring that back and was like, they exist. They're in this. They're not in this universe, but they exist. And so we're now going to make this a thing. And I mean, and a lot of people might argue, well, isn't that exactly what they did in the Ghostbusters? They brought back the Ghostbusters, but I'm like, no. That's different because again, it's like it's leaning on nostalgia. It's leaning on remember Bill Murray, remember Venkman, remember Ray. No, this is like we forgot about all those other criminals, but you know what? No, they do exist. Here they are. It's interesting. It's an interesting take on the nostalgic look.
Question.
Yes.
So since I have forgotten some of Spider-Man's past, were all the villains in the prior movies in this movie?
All but Let me think about that. All but 2.
Okay.
Because in Spider-Man
40
3, Topher Grace from that 70s show fame played Eddie Brock. He plays Eddie Brock, who turns into Venom. So he played Venom in that film. And I'm going to go ahead and spoil this. I don't give a shit. Spoiler alert here. Spoiler alert. Tom Hardy also escapes into the cinematic universe. Sorry, I had a hair in my mouth. Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock manages to get into the cinematic universe as well. It's in a post-credit scene, or mid-credit scene. But we find out that he actually managed to slip by. And so now he may be facing off against Spider-Man in a future
Well, no, he
movie.
gets sent back.
Huh?
He gets sent back at the end.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he does. But there's a little bit of him left.
Oh.
That's what happened.
I had just finished my fruit cobbler.
Yeah.
Well, regardless, Eddie Brock manages to make an appearance. And that's Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock, which is much more popular. So that's why they didn't bring back Topher Grace Eddie Brock from Spider-Man 3. The second villain that they didn't bring back was Harry Osborn from The Amazing Spider-Man, the second Andrew Garfield vehicle.
Well, we know how that went, so.
But the reason why they didn't bring that Harry Osborn back is because they brought back Norman Osborn from the Tobey Maguire era. My head's gonna explode. But anyway, those are the two villains.
Was that the Green Goblin?
Yes. Okay. And see, Harry Osborn in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, the second Andrew Garfield, he turns into the Green Goblin in that film. But they didn't bring him back because they already had Green Goblin. And they also already had...
Which I like that Green Goblin. The Tobey is my favorite.
Yeah.
And the reason he is my favorite, it has nothing to do with Spider-Man. It has everything to do with Boondock Saints.
I can't take it anymore.
Because he's the detective and he's hilarious and he's great. But that's besides the point. That's why I have
Can't take it anymore.
Connection to him.
Spoiler alert!
No!
I can't. I'm gonna burst. I gotta tell him. I gotta tell him. Okay, fine. I'll hold it in. But there is a huge, amazing twist in this film, and you're gonna love every minute of it. But no, this movie was great. I thought it was a great closure to the Spider-Man series.
I also like how MJ and what's his best friend's name?
Ned.
They got more of like a show.
They did. They get
more of a part.
They get more of a part in this film, and their role is much bigger. The reason why is because of what happens to Peter Parker. Because he's outed as Spider-Man, they automatically link Ned and MJ to him, so they're blackballed as well in society. And that's one of the reasons why Peter Parker is trying to change the course of history with Doctor Strange, because he doesn't want them to suffer.
He feels like not only did he screw up his life, but he screwed up their lives. And that's not fair, because why should your life be screwed up just because you know somebody?
Just because you know somebody... What was that?
Nothing.
But anyway, the film, I mean, it's just amazing. It's great closure. There is one more spoiler I'm going to give. It's not the one you think.
Okay.
Another thing I've always admired about this particular franchise was the fact that they didn't bring you down. They didn't make you feel horrible like the other two. One of the reasons why Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man was always so mopey and sad was because Uncle Ben gets murdered. Now that's a part of the comic series. That's something that does happen. But they bypass all that bullshit in the Tom Holland version. They don't do any of that. But that's the reason he's just haunted by the death of Uncle Ben. And in the Amazing Spider-Man, I can't remember if Martin Sheen plays Uncle Ben in that film. I can't remember what happens to him. I think he dies too somehow. But the thing that's the saddest, it's gut-wrenching, is at the end of the Amazing Spider-Man 2, Emma Stone, Gwen Stacy, his girlfriend, she dies. So you shouldn't leave a movie feeling like, I mean,
this one definitely had some sad moments. Well, I'm not going to say I didn't shed a tear.
But listen, that's the thing. Is like, when it came to the original Spider-Man, you left the first Spider-Man feeling kind of, because he rejects Kirsten Dunst, MJ.
Right.
He's like, no, I'm going to be hero, and I don't need a girlfriend. I got to avenge Uncle Ben. And so it's like, oh. And then the second one, he does get together with MJ, and you're like, oh. And the third one, you're like, oh. And then that's where we leave. That's where we leave them forever. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh. And then the Amazing Spider-Man, actually the first Amazing Spider-Man was sad too, because Gwen Stacy's dad gets killed. Dennis Leary plays her dad. He gets killed in that one. You're like, oh. And he makes Peter Parker promise to protect his daughter.
So I want you to promise me something, okay? Leave Gwen out of it.
And then he lets her die in the second one. And you're just like, what is this?
He probably didn't let her die.
Well, no, I mean, she died. The point is, they bypassed all that bullshit with this Spider-Man series. But the very, very end of this movie, and this is a spoiler, Marissa Tomei, who plays Aunt May in this movie, she gets killed by the Green Goblin. And
broke my heart.
It was sad.
It broke my heart.
And what makes it double sad for this is the fact that Aunt May's all that Peter Parker has in this universe. You know? Yeah. Especially after, because again, spoilers. Doctor Strange. At the end of the movie, Doctor Strange is successful with the
spell.
The spell, and everyone
knows he's Peter Parker.
Nobody knows who he is. No one is. Period. It's not just forget he's Spider-Man. They forget who he is. Period.
So they know who Spider-Man is, but they do not know the person behind the mask. And Peter Parker never existed.
And Peter Parker and Ned doesn't know him, and MJ doesn't know him. So and then Aunt May is dead. So nobody. Literally, he has nobody. But it ends on this very high note of, I'm going to go back out there, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make things right. So it ends on a high note. But that's really the only level of, oh my God, this is so sad that we've ever gotten out of this Tom Holland Spider-Man, is Aunt May dying. Which, this is why, this was my reaction at the end of this film. You see what I mean?
I don't know what that was supposed to mean.
Just say yes.
Yes.
So that's why this movie is so great, because it's a little gut-wrenching, but it is so well put together. I haven't walked away from a film feeling that mind-blown since The Force Awakens.
It definitely keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
There are like the down parts, which you're immediately brought back up, or you're thrown into action, or you're thrown into this, and it's an emotional roller coaster in a sense, but it's like, I don't want to call it a kiddie coaster, but it guides you through it nicely.
And no, it's not a kiddie coaster. It is a roller freaking coaster. I mean, you're going up and down.
But it's smooth. It's not like a Tower of Terror.
Oh, it hurts though. It hurts me. Oh, but it's exciting, and you love every minute of it. And so, I mean, it's amazing. The whole film is amazing. I love the story of this Peter Parker, and I loved how it ended. Question mark, because he says that he's coming. Tom Holland says he's coming back to do more Spider-Man movies, or not. I'm not sure. It's all
up in the air.
Oh, it's all ambiguous at this point. Nobody knows for sure what he's doing.
Because the thing is, they've done their 3. So do they do more?
Here's the thing.
Given the end scene, they left it for more.
Yeah, and I would love to see more, but
of course, because we all love Tom Holland.
I'd love to see more butts. Ah!
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
But I want Zendaya to come back too.
Well, they would all come back. If they did another one of these, they would all come back. But it's like you said, they've already done the trilogy.
Yeah.
But again, going back to my original point, there's never been a more successful trilogy in the cinematic universe than the Spider-Man trilogy. So you could continue this. You could keep going and doing them, and people would come. I'd still go see it. I'd go see Spider-Man 4. What would you call this? Home?
Home.
Well, home is in the title of all of them. There's Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home. So Home. Home Alone. Oh my God, Spider-Man Home Alone. All the villains come back and they
Spider-Man Home Reborn.
No. No, I like Spider-Man Home Alone.
No!
Because all the villains could come back from the multiverse and be like, you know what, we are going to kill you after all. And then they follow him into his apartment and he leaves all these booby traps for him. It'd be great. No. And he's home alone because May is dead.
Stop. Film-wise, what did you like cinematography-wise?
Who gives a shit about that? That was a great film. Who cares? This is a Marvel film. You're just supposed to enjoy the action and the story.
Well, I did.
The thing about Marvel movies...
I enjoyed everything about this freaking movie.
The thing about Marvel movies is that you want to enjoy the action, but you still want that solid, structured story, and you get that with No Way Home. You get that with Spider-Man in general.
Yes.
And that's the point we're trying to make, is that this was a damn good film and a perfect way to end 2021. Miss Pengrino, would you recommend Spider-Man No Way Home?
Absolutely.
100% from me,
2,000.
What are you crazy? Go see this movie if you haven't seen it already.
It reminds me when Betty and I first fell in love. I had just finished my film cover.
December 17th, exclusively in movie theaters.
Well, if you'll excuse me, I have to absolutely go destroy the toilet.
Could have just said I needed to go to the bathroom, but whatever.
Sorry. False alarm. Just turned out to be a little poop pebbles. Non-stop wiping. You ever have that? When you poop a little bit, but it's like wiping a marker? Wait. Something's different about you. Have you lost weight? Have you lost height? Have you lost beard? Have you lost hair? No? Just me. Am I